are mourning the loss of a Windsor firefighter. Wesley Orr died Friday in an off-duty accident at Blue Mountain. It's left his family and community reeling and remembering the young man. CBC's Katerina Gorgieva has the story from Windsor.
The flag outside Windsor Fire Service headquarters is flying at half-mast following the sudden death of Wesley Orr. He died in an accident yesterday morning at Blue Mountain Resort. He was just 25. According to the OPP, a man tried to climb the outside wall of a building, but lost his footing and fell to the ground. He was taken to hospital where he later died. Family, friends, and fellow firefighters remember him as a good person who always tried to take care of people. Orr joined the fire service a few years ago. The Windsor fire chief says he's shocked and devastated by the news.
I can tell you that he was well respected by his peers, by his officers. He had a passion for the job, and he had a certain knack for customer service. He truly cared about people, and that came through on every call that he went on. And certainly he was a pleasure to work with, and I've heard nothing but great things about him since the time he's been with us.
What we will do is we will sit around the table. Some people might cry, some people will laugh, like it's a circle, how we deal with it. But a lot will be is we're going to lean on each other, and with that, by leaning on each other, we'll be able to move forward.
Orr's family has gathered together in Tecumseh. His brother says it's been difficult and surreal, but he'll remember Wesley for his adventurous spirit.
When we were kids, I had a younger brother that was better than me at everything. Any kind of sport. He was amazing in school, and anything he wanted, he did right away.
Dylan told me that his brother actually had a habit of scaling buildings ever since they were teenagers, and that it was his favorite thing to do. Condolences have been pouring in from emergency responders around the region. The investigation into Orr's death is ongoing, and an autopsy is expected in the coming days. Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Windsor.
A 62-year-old Ottawa man is facing child pornography charges after a trip to Nepal. Paul McCarthy was first stopped by Canadian Border Services officers last month after returning from a trip to a Nepalese orphanage. Ottawa's Child Exploitation Unit investigated and found evidence of child pornography. Police arrested McCarthy on Friday at Pearson Airport after he was escorted off a plane destined for Panama City. Officers also found evidence of child pornography at the man's Ottawa home. He appeared in an Ottawa court today and is scheduled for a bail hearing on Tuesday. One man is dead and two others are injured after a head-on collision near Orillia early Saturday morning. The crash happened on Highway 12 in the township of Ramara. A vehicle traveling northbound is believed to have crossed the highway's center line, colliding with a southbound vehicle. The driver of the northbound vehicle who died has been identified as Michael King of Brechin. The male driver of the southbound vehicle suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. He was transported to a Toronto trauma center. A passenger in his vehicle suffered minor injuries. A 51-year-old man is facing charges after a piece of plywood from his vehicle flew off and struck a car driving behind it on Highway 410 earlier this week. The freak collision happened around 4 p.m. Wednesday on Highway 410 near Queen Street East in Brampton. Witnesses say the plywood flew off a small utility trailer being towed by an SUV. 3 people walked away from the incident with minor injuries. The 51-year-old man has been charged with having an insecure load contrary to the Highway Traffic Act. He will appear in court at a later date. The Ford government, for months, has said it plans a bold new vision for Ontario Place. The entertainment venue has long been underused and sits on prime waterfront real estate. The province has now appointed a new chair to redevelop the space, but it is coming under fire for who they have picked to lead the way. Adrian Chung joins us live from Ontario Place tonight. So, Adrian, why is the Ford government facing criticism on this?
Well, Mayor Vol, this really comes down to who has been appointed and what the waterfront behind me will look like. Now, they've appointed James Ginu to lead the process as chair of Ontario Place. He's known as a Toronto businessman, along with being a political fundraiser. He's also previously chaired Ontario Place between 1997 to 2003, and that is what, based on his past experience and his knowledge of the Ontario Place site, we know that he will serve the people of Ontario well in his new capacity as we move forward with our plan to turn Ontario Place into a spectacular world-class destination. But a major point of contention here is that Jinnu is known to be friends with the Ford family. The opposition NDP have called them out on this, believing that the Ford government is benefiting its friends. And Jinnu also made a comment to the website QP Briefing saying, quote, because rebuilt in any way that Ford wants it to be rebuilt. Now, we reached Jinnu over email, and he said that he was not available for comment today. Marival.
And Adrian, I mean, it's Ontario Place, always contentious, and there are some high stakes here for the future of Ontario Place.
Well, the province is planning a major redevelopment in this area, but it still remains a political hockey puck as to what is going to happen in the waterfront here. A community group called Waterfront for All, they have opposed the province so far on some of their ideas. They're planning a rally here next week. Along with the NDP, they specifically, the opposition of course, do not like the road that the province is going down right now. Have a listen.
This is not Doug Ford's private property. The Ontario Place belongs to the people of Ontario who bought and paid for it. And any decision that needs to be made about this place should be done in consultation with the people of Ontario.
Now, at this point, we don't know what those redevelopment plans will actually look like yet. The province has not decided, but Premier Ford has over the years made some on-the-record comments and proposals of what he would like to see here. And that ranges from a large Ferris wheel in the Portlands out east to a casino right here in Ontario Place, to a mega mall and monorail at Exhibition Place. And those are some of those ideas that some community groups and certainly some city councillors have opposed over the years. Marvel, I'll send it back to you.
Always generates a lot of talk around this subject. Thanks so much for this, Adrian. A relatively mild day today, Safia, and I gotta say it was a welcome one.
Yeah, where has winter gone? I, for one, am not complaining. Adrian was out there with that big parka. You can do the same tonight and tomorrow. You know what? It is the perfect weekend. Still, you got one more day of sunshine coming, the perfect weekend, and maybe take down the Christmas lights, clean the eaves troughs, keep wiping all those muddy dog paws. There's got to be a flip side to this, right? Things change, though. As you get late into Sunday, you will still get plenty of sunshine on Sunday, but things begin to chill back down a little bit closer to seasonal because really it has been above average for quite a while now. We haven't gotten nearly very much snow. High pressure from the north comes back in on Sunday. It is a northerly wind that replaces this mild Pacific air that we've had with this westerly wind. A northerly wind that actually brings in our next system that will make for a messy Monday evening commute. Two systems join, a clipper system from the prairies and then a second one more moisture laden from the south. But the key for us around the GTA and in southern Ontario will be the fact that we will sit within this warm sector. We won't get all the snow that they will see to the north. But what Monday evening we'll have in store will be a lot of rain, a quick shot of snow, a little bit of freezing rain. We'll detail it all when we come back. And also tell you about the 1-2 punch coming on Tuesday that could have the snow for all the snow lovers, just maybe.
Okay, winter's still around the corner. Thanks, Safia. An 18-year-old Canadian tennis dynamo continues her remarkable run. Bianca Andreescu is headed to the finals at a tournament in New Zealand, and she is gaining fans all around the world. Lorenda Kretokop has been following her rise.
Impressive. Seemingly in disbelief that she earned her spot into the finals.
Is it too early for story of the season?
Bianca Andreescu is popular with the crowd in Auckland.
I guess what they're saying is, we like you.
The underdog story here, winning night after night against some of the biggest names in tennis. Two former world number ones, Caroline Wozniacki and Venus Williams. Not bad for an 18-year-old ranked 152nd.
I just want to thank all my fans at home, everyone who supported me and supporting me right now.
Last night I texted Nico after the match point, and I just text, "Come on, baby."
One of those supporters is her former coach. He messaged her father after spending $100 last night for an extra cable channel to see the end of her match.
To beat Venus back-to-back with Wozniacki, it's confidence builder, but it's also showing that their level of competencies is really high right now. And you don't get to that level by luck.
This is the first week most Canadians have heard her name, but in the tennis world, people have seen her rise for years.
In 4 years, she's gone through being the next phenom, being this, being injured. Is she ever going to make it? And now, all of a sudden, finally, this week, literally almost randomly.
Young tennis players are also taking notice.
Just like Shapovalov, she's going to become a superstar.
I saw that she beat Venus, but she's 18 years old, which is good.
This 14-year-old and his parents watched her last year at the Rogers Cup.
She had the fighting spirit, and that's one of the things I want to work with Emmanuel on, the mental part and the toughness and the fighting spirit of continue fighting and playing hard.
And she's been an underdog from the start when she won her first trophy as a 9-year-old.
At that time, they were mixing boys and girls in the tournaments.
Okay.
And she played the boy in the final. She beat him, and she was crying, and I got so bad about him.
Next, she takes on the reigning champ of this tournament. Fittingly, her motto is Dream Big. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
It is day 15 of the partial shutdown of the U.S. government, and there are no signs of progress on resolving the funding dispute. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will let the shutdown drag on for months, even years, unless he gets $5 billion for his border wall. And the Democrat leader in the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, says not $1. Today, Vice President Mike Pence and other senior Trump administration officials met with senior congressional Democratic staff, and just over 2 hours later, they all left. Meanwhile, worried federal government workers are marching on picket lines demanding to be paid. Hundreds of airport screeners are calling in sick rather than working without pay, and in some parks, volunteers are trying to keep them open. While volunteers here gathered in Etobicoke to lend a hand to those suffering in war-torn Syria. The fighting there, now into its 8th year, has displaced millions, and millions more unsure of their next meal. Kelda Ewan has more on how Global Medic is getting aid to those in need in the midst of extreme violence.
2 scoops of salt, 2 scoops of fried onions.
About 100 volunteers make up this assembly operation, each with a specific role.
The meal's now created and it comes over here.
All of them here to ensure 30,000 meals are packed and ready to be shipped by the end of the day.
Because all these volunteers are out and giving their time, we drive price down and we're able to deliver a meal into that war zone to feed a kid for 33 cents.
For Wasim Meselmani, a newcomer from Syria, lending a hand is the least he can do.
We have to be together, we have to support each other.
While Meselmani made it safely to Canada, over 13 million people remain in need in the country, in the midst of a civil war that has left an estimated 500,000 people dead so far. Global Medic worked with Syrian refugees to come up with this easily packaged meal, a staple dish called mujadara.
By working with those Syrian women to come up with that meal, we know that it's something that they're familiar with, they know how to cook.
But getting it to them can be a challenge. Even our government can attest to that.
The Canadian government confirmed yesterday that a British Columbia man has been detained in Syria after traveling there for adventure. Foreign Affairs says it is having difficulty providing him with consular services due to the security situation there.
Global Medic says access in a war zone is always difficult, but it has the experience to ensure their aid gets there.
We need to be agile and mobile and able to respond. That's why we go smaller, lighter footprint, targeting the periphery that it doesn't really get the aid.
Besides food, 800 emergency kits are also being sent. Global Medic is hoping to deliver 1 million meals by the end of 2019.
Let's put that in context, though. That's not enough, right? You have 13.5 million people displaced by this war. Our 1 million meals are a drop in the bucket. We need to do more, but this is our step forward and our start to get more in.
Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
For the last few weeks, we've been looking back at the biggest stories of last year, breaking down what made headlines in 2018. And as we head to break, Chris Glover now takes a look at the month of December.
The death of 20-year-old Simran Farah marked a grim milestone for the city. He was the 96th homicide victim of the year, breaking a murder record set back in 1991. And once again, this murder involved a gun. Farah was one of 3 people shot in a Rexdale Plaza. The other 2 survived. The murder of 14-year-old Riley Driver Martin shocked residents of Mississauga in December. The teen was found dead with obvious signs of trauma near Clarkson Secondary School, where he was a grade 9 student. 2 brothers, both 20 years old, have been charged in his death. The province rolled out plans to give Ontarians more time to buy booze. Premier Doug Ford's government extending the hours that the LCBO, beer store, and grocery stores can sell alcohol. Wine, spirits, and suds can now be sold from 9 in the morning until 11 at night, 7 days a week. A change in plans for storefront pot shops. The province announcing it is introducing a lottery system for those looking to open one and limiting the number of stores to just 25. Queen's Park says the move is because of concerns about the federal supply of pot. They say once that is shored up, more licenses will be available. The King Street pilot project was extended for another 7 months. TTC streetcars have been the priority mode of transit on King between Bathurst and Jarvis for the past year. That will continue until July 31st. So far, the data collected shows an increase in ridership and streetcar reliability. But some business owners say it has hurt foot traffic and their bottom line.
Better not doubt, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
And our annual Sounds of the Season campaign was another success this year, thanks to you. In fact, it was the best ever. Hundreds showed up for the annual day-long event here at the CBC Broadcast Center. Thanks to your donations, almost 20,000 pounds of food was collected, and thanks to your generosity, more than $740,000 was raised for local food banks.
A downtown restaurant is doing much more than serving food. They're also providing opportunities for those who might have a tough time finding work. Hawthorne Food and Drink is run by the Hospitality Workers Training Center. The people who train there run the restaurant's day-to-day operations, and that helps give them a leg up to find jobs afterwards. CBC's Talia Ricci paid them a visit.
You may not know it when you sit down to dine here, But the people who serve, make the food, and wash the dishes at Hawthorne Food and Drink have unique stories to tell.
Growing up for me, I struggled, and I will find myself on the streets at one point in life.
I'm a newcomer here, so I didn't know how Toronto works in the kitchen.
The restaurant trains people who have the desire to learn but may face barriers when searching for employment. In a city as big and competitive as Toronto, the program helps give them a fair chance at work in hospitality.
The teachers, they were so sweet, they were so understanding, they understood, and they basically pushed you to be what you can be, and they saw potential in me.
And they've seen good results. So for the last 4 years, they've had over 200 people come through the training program, and 75% of them were employed afterwards.
They might experience a disability, they might be new to Canada, they might have low literacy or language skills, they might not have Canadian experience or have been out of the labor market for a very long time.
That was the case for Shane O'Halloran. He couldn't find a job for almost 2 years. He went through the training program and ended up employed at Hawthorne. Now he even helps train people who come through the program. As someone who works with a disability, this is what he faced from previous employers.
Not really knowing what to ask and being a little too uncomfortable to say, what can I do to help? The modifications that I need are very few, but there are a lot of disabled individuals that I know that if only they were asked that question, they would be able to perform 100% perfectly well in any job.
Questions they're willing to ask here.
A lot of people need chances in life, and sometimes we just need to help those persons with that push. Some people just need that push in life, and so here we do that.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
We're back with Safia now, so it sounds like we should really enjoy the mild weather while we've got it.
That is, unless you want to go out with the kids and build a snowman. I, for one, am okay waiting, maybe just for one good snowfall in a couple weeks to get that out of my system. Until then, no need for the parka. But hey, if you are a snow lover, this is not your cup of tea whatsoever. Normally around this time of year, we've seen upwards of about 30 centimeters of snow. We've only seen about 27, and much of that was in November. December has been really mild, above normal for the most part, more of the same for Sunday, Monday, actually for much of the first half of this work week. It won't really get a little bit of a temperature whiplash going on until after this next system comes in. So this is a Monday evening story for the most part. Late Monday afternoon, you might have a quick shot of snow. Now, if all of this was a lot lower, you'd be getting into the heavy dose of snow that they're going to see around the Superior Shores. But instead, we're around this warm sector, so we're going to get a messy mix of everything. Quick shot of snow, late afternoon hours, and then really it's a story of a slippery, messy, and maybe kind of slow Monday evening commute. For any of you whose first day back to work is Monday, probably a little extra time on the way home potentially. You know, it doesn't take a lot of snow to slow things down. You're not getting a ton, you're getting a dusting to a couple centimeters. It'll be followed by a whole bunch of rain as well, but it's messy and icky and a little bit slushy. And then the temperature whiplash happens later on in the week. But first, it's Tuesday into Wednesday that you will have a 1-2 punch. This is the Monday-Tuesday story, maybe about 5 centimeters north and east of the GTA, 2 to 5 around the Golden Horseshoe, and then a secondary front comes in Tuesday into Wednesday. You'll have another chance. Just a little bit of snow, just enough to look pretty as it's falling and then not need to shovel. It's actually kind of perfect.
Yeah, I'd say so. Thanks, Safia.
You're welcome.
Now, before we go, we want to tell you about CBC Toronto's Community Champions. We're recognizing the people and projects that are making the GTA a better place to live, work, and play. And we need your help to find them. It could be a mentor, your local neighborhood block party organizers, or a volunteer group working to raise awareness for a worthy cause. Get creative and think about what kind of selfless acts you've seen in the past year and nominate them. Award recipients will be featured in our coverage across all platforms, TV, radio, and online. And you can visit cbc.ca/community champions to make your nominations before the deadline, Sunday, January 13th at midnight. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, everyone.